I want to just say one line in the song, and I think it's very appropriate for where we are right now. This is a brand new day, and it says this: don't leave it up to the other man or to another day. Take your life into your hands. Make it work out your way. It's not the number of times you stumble down and fall upon the ground. It's the number of times you pick yourself up and keep on moving on to meet your goals. Come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. The time to love is here. Let these troubled days be done. I tell you, come on, everybody. Come on, everyone. The time to love is here. That was a surprise, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is Dr. Herbert Harris. And today is an incredible day, a great day for living, a great day for sharing, a great day for being alive. We have an incredible program for you today, folks. Because, you know, our topic for today, this is the Success Mentorship Call number 139. And our topic for today is assess your present condition. Now, this topic is a part of a four-part series. And for those of you, every Saturday morning for the next 4 weeks, we're going to be doing a topic. And it's a part of a four-part series to really set you up to make this year incredible. In other words, when you close out this year, wherever you close out this year in your thinking and your actions and your emotions and your results, you're going to set up next year. And so you want to close out strong so that you can open up this new year with a blast, so that you can take control of this new year and like shake it around. So before we go on with part one, which is assess your present situation, assess your present condition, let us do a brief meditation to center us on the proper place and the proper thoughts that we need to have right now to do what we want to do, be what we want to be, and have whatever we want to have. So let's everybody just close your eyes for a second. Take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold it. Let it out slowly. Take a deep breath. Hold it. Let it out slowly. I am open, receptive, and ready to learn. Let us say that together. I am open, receptive, and ready to learn. All right. What a great day. I'm just excited about today, folks. I tell you, this has been one of those kind of days that makes you glad to be, well, every day you should be glad to be alive. But this is special. So our topic for today, Success Mentorship Class number 139, is assess your present condition. And there's a beautiful quote from Thomas Monson, and it says, learn from the past, prepare for the future, live in the present. Let me share that again. Learn from the past, prepare for the future, live in the present. All right. So let's go into this. As we look at closing out this year, you know, so much has changed over the last year. I mean, it's really, folks, it's really hard to keep up with all the changes that have taken place. Things that we never thought would happen have taken place this year. And so when we look at what has taken place this year, we have to say, where do we go from here? We have to say, what are we going to do to take our lives in our hands, take command of our lives, and take us to where we really want to be? For some of us, it's like how to get off this train that we're on, how to get on a whole new vibration. And the beauty is that we actually have the power to do that. We have the power to transform our lives from what it is to what it can be. I like to think of something called a success GPS. You know, when you have a GPS in your car, the one thing you have to do to make your GPS work for you is you have to put in a destination. But the real challenge is The GPS cannot determine the destination that you want to go to unless you can figure out where you're at. And so this topic today, assessing your present condition, is really about determining where you're really at, where you are right now, to put you in a position to go forward even better. So those of you who are on the Facebook, on Instagram, please share this with your friends. I think this message will benefit a lot of them. Sure benefits me. I love preparing these talks for you because when I do, it helps me. So where do we go from here? I want us to look at a particular mindset. Whatever we approach in life, we have to approach it with a certain mindset. You know, we can approach a situation from a negative mindset. We call it, see the glass as half empty. And so everything that we experience, every encounter we have is interpreted through that negative mindset. And so the first thing to really focus on is, as we begin to prepare for the new year, as we begin to close out this year super strong, then the most important thing we have to do is to create the right mindset for us to approach this journey. And there are three things I want us to remember in setting up our mindset. Number one, to be honest with yourself. Folks, let me tell you something. If you're not honest with yourself, then you're always lying to yourself. And now there are a lot of people that do that. They lie to themselves. But if you're not honest with yourself, you can never grow. You can never go where you want to go. You can never really be what you were destined to be. So when you're honest with yourself, you're really tuning in to the vibration that you are. Each of us is created by a higher knowledge of wisdom, an eternal force, a God mind, the good mind, the creator by whatever name. And we are created with a certain vibration, with a certain purpose. And so if we don't have that, vibration, that purpose firmly in our minds, then it can take us out. Okay? And so we can get lost, as they say, we can get lost in the sauce. And when we get lost in the sauce, that's not a good thing, folks. So let's look at this. What is the right mindset to prepare you to do what you have to do, to prepare you to really make this happen, to really make it exactly the way you want it to be? Well, three things. Number one, you got to be honest with yourself. Number two, you have to take responsibility for whatever it is. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing right now, you have to take responsibility for it. And number three, you have to be committed to growth. You have to be committed to do whatever it takes, for as long as it takes, to become the person that you want to be, to doing the things you want to do. So when we look at this, what is the process? And the process really begins with what I call assessing your current condition. Now, many of you already have a copy of our book, The 12 Universal Laws of Success, and much of what we're covering today comes directly from our book. So if you don't have one, you need to go and get one right away. It's on Amazon. The 12 Universal Laws of Success by Dr. Herbert Harris. Be sure to get the Super Achiever edition, where we have over 31 people who made comments about the book and how the book has helped them. So go and get it on Amazon, or you can get it at www.12, that's the number 12uls.com, www.12uls.com. So when we talk about reviewing our present situation, our present condition, step one is what I like to call review your wins and lessons. You see, in life, there's no such thing as failure. That's one of those negative concepts that mess you up. There's never a failure. There's only a lesson. So whenever things work the way they're supposed to work, aha, it's a victory. Whenever things don't work the way they're supposed to work, aha, it's a lesson. So the idea of looking at everything we do in terms of victories and lessons really sets us up to go forward in a very positive way. So let's look at our wins and losses. So this is what I recommend that you do. This is a class, folks. So listen, work. I don't want you to just listen to, oh, that guy talks really nice. I want you to take a sheet of paper. You can start it now and you can work on it, something to work on. Take a sheet of paper, draw a line down the center of the paper, a vertical line, okay? Let's say an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And then draw a horizontal line about a quarter of the way down the page from the top, sort of draw a cross. And on the left side, above that horizontal line, I want you to write victories. And then on the right side, above the horizontal line, on the right side of the vertical line, write lessons. And what I'd love for you to do is to look back over this year and look at all of the victories that you had, the things where you did a good job, the things that worked, the outcomes that were the ones you wanted to come. You know, you always get an outcome, you always get a result. And I guess success is that you get the result that you were looking for. If you get a lesson, then you get a result that you may not have been looking for. But the idea is that to, on the left side, to write down all the victories. And folks, be lavish in your praise. Don't be critical about yourself. You know, sometimes it's a victory just to get up. You say, you know, it was a victory for me to get up today and say, ho, 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 today is a beautiful, magnificent day. A great day for living, sharing, and being alive. The point is that when you write down your victories, it crystallizes something in your mind. You know the spiritual principle, write the vision, make it plain upon tablets. There's a spiritual principle there that when you write it, you literally crystallize the vibration that helped bring that vision about. So write all your victories down, be lavish, don't skimp. Anything you did that even thought it felt good to you, anything you thought it was right, any plans you made that happened, do them, write them down. Then secondly, on the right-hand side, write down the lessons. All those things that did not work. And let me tell you, folks, there's some years when all you had is lessons. But you know, the greatest lesson of all is after you've had a year where you had nothing but lesson after lesson, the greatest victory is that you're still around to talk about it. When we were kids, we used to have those atomic bomb experiments, like what do you call it, exercises, and they told you to get under your desk in case the atomic bomb would hit. My dad said, yeah, I don't hear about it. You know, I don't know if that's going to really help. But he said, look, as long as I'm around to say, what was that? I'm good. Right? And so maybe you had a year so bad that there's so many lessons that the greatest victory is that you're still around to play the game. So be it. So what Ben Franklin would do, he would take that list, the victories on one side, the lessons on the other, and he'd add them up. And so let's just say you had 26 victories and 5 lessons. So based on that, what he would do, he would say, yeah, you know, this was a pretty good year. And so what that says, if you had more victories than lessons, then it clearly indicates that you're on the right path, that you must be doing something right. And so in that case, to go forward, you need to just make some minor adjustments. You know, say, okay, you know, I'm perking right now at about 85% efficiency. So let me just make some minor adjustments. Let me tune up a little bit. Let me rephrase some things. Let me get a little different mindset on some of the things that I'm doing. On the other hand, if you have more lessons, if this year was one of those years, it was lesson after lesson. You had more month at the end of the money. Your job got, forget downsized, it got thrown out the window. That this might have been a year that you had so many lessons that it says to you, you need to make a complete overhaul of what you're doing. So for our listeners out here today, I implore you to do this. If you do nothing else, if you get nothing else from this talk, to do this assessment, your victories and your lessons. Because I'll tell you something, you'll be surprised at how many victories you had. Because sometimes we have that mindset to focus on the lessons and not the victories. But number two, you'll come out with another perspective now. You say, you know what? Maybe the year didn't work out the way I thought it was, but I did okay. Let me make these adjustments. Once you've done this assessment, then you really say to yourself, am I happy with my progress? Am I happy with my performance? Did I have so many lessons that I need to make a complete reevaluation of everything I'm doing? Or do I need just some minor adjustments? I think it was Albert Einstein said basically insanity is doing the same things and expecting a different result. Let me say that again. Insanity is doing the same things and expecting a different result. If you like that, say, yes, I like that. I agree. Okay. So when you look at your situation based on this frame of reference, we can say, all right, I see what's going on. I see what I've done to date. I know that I need a change. And then a perspective appears. How do we learn from this evaluation and move forward? We are now talking about the assessment process, really. How do we go forward? Oh, think about this. I like to think of the 4 F's. We can look at our analysis, we can look at our assessment, and we can forget about it. You know, there are times in people's lives when they look at a point of where they are and they just literally forget about it. They don't acknowledge their situation. They don't take responsibility for it. They act as though it just happened. They pretend that it's not even going on so you can forget about it. There are sometimes you can approach, you can flee it. You can look at your assessment and you're like, no, that's not what's going on. You can flee it by completely ignoring the stuff and going another way. This is not what's happening. You can tell yourself a lie and flee this whole situation. You might even fight it. When you look at your assessment of your year, you might fight it by claiming that it's somebody else's fault, that this situation that you're in right now is a result of other people's actions. But if you're going to make this year your year for success to lay the foundation for next year, if you want to position yourself so that next year will be your year for outrageous success, no matter the pandemic, the crisis, the obstacles, that you are going to be successful, then you got to face it. And when you face it, what we're really saying is, now let's figure this thing out. Let's look at how we started out. Now, this is important. This next point, to really look at where we are based on where we said we wanted to be about last year this time. Most of us wrote goals for this year that's finishing. We had written goals. We wrote those goals. We supposedly, we were supposed to read them over 3 or 4 times a day. And it's time now to look back at your written goals for this year and see how well you did. Well, a large percentage of the people, about 80%, don't have any written goals at all. So think about this. You can't even assess how to move forward because you had no frame of reference. You had no goals. Whatever happened this year happened this year. And you just made it through. If you did have some written goals, you look at them and number one, a lot of times folks say, well, I can't find my goals. Well, that's a clue right there. We were teaching a class in goal setting and we were talking about that. And the lady said, I wrote my goals. I have a goal notebook and whatnot, and I misplaced it. Well, what does this say? This says you probably didn't achieve those goals because you didn't follow the goal formula, which is to read your goals over 2 or 3 times a day to make a plan to achieve those goals. So when we look at how we did last year, and we look at our goals, whether we didn't have any, where we wrote them down, we had some and we didn't follow them, or we may have had a good year. You know, there are a lot of us, you know, somebody is always victorious. There's Somebody always does what they set out to do. And so there are going to be those of us on this call and who watch this broadcast who say, well, you know what? I wrote my goals last year. I accomplished about 85, 90% of them, so I'm good. And I say hallelujah. The lesson of this evaluation of the goals that you set and how well you accomplished them, how close you came to accomplishing them, reminds us a lot of a garden. And the learning principle here is that in life is like a garden. If you don't plant flowers, and those of us who live out, we have some weeds growing in the yard right now. If you don't plant flowers, then the weeds will consume your life. So if you had no goals for this year, then the weeds are the product and the manifestation of the world mind, then the weeds will consume you. And when we look at your evaluation of your victories and your lessons, you had a whole lot of lessons. So learning here is that life is like a garden and you have to affirmatively plant flowers. And planting flowers means that you have goals. Each goal is a seed. And when you plant that seed first in your own consciousness and then plant it in the seed, in the ground, in the earth of activity and commitment, that seed grows. So looking at this year, then we evaluate those goals from last year and we say, you know what? I didn't plan them right. I didn't pull up the weeds. You know, if life is like a garden, then you have to pull up weeds. You don't have to plant weeds. You only have to plant flowers. And so maybe you were not as effective in pulling up the weeds. Maybe you let some negative thoughts come in to destroy your flowers. Maybe you let some negative emotions come in. Maybe you had some bad habits. Maybe you had some negative people around you, some dream snatchers. So once we made this assessment and once we learned from the goals that we either wrote or had or did not have now, then we can go to the next step. And I like to call it face the facts. When you look at your performance for this year to date, it's easy to be disappointed in your own performance. It's like, man, I coulda, I shoulda, I woulda. You know? But let me tell you something, folks. When you face the facts, whether they be negative, whether they be positive, there's one truth. And that truth is this, that you are where you are because of your thoughts, your emotions, your habits, and your associations. And so now you have a framework to look to develop a plan to go forward. Now you know how to operate your success GPS, so you now can create a plan to go forward. And that's a powerful realization, because once that says that you have the power now, that if the thoughts you had were not productive, you have the power to change your thoughts. The second law of success says, be not conformed to this world, but be you transformed by the renewing of your mind. So you have the ability to think a new thought. If negative emotions, past failures, past hurts, and past pains held you back, you now have the power to change those emotions, to reprogram your emotions. Muhammad Ali said, I am the greatest. It didn't matter that he was a poor kid from Louisville, Kentucky. He said, I am the greatest, and he became that. When you evaluate your present situation, you may see some habits, tardiness, procrastinations, some habits that have undermined your success. Now you can be committed to fix them. And then you may look around you and find yourself surrounded by dream stealers, by people who poo-poo and criticize everything you do. And that's a clue to change your associations. So with this piece being done, this assessment, so we have assessed to address. That's the concept. You assess your situation so that you can address your situation. And that leads us to step 4. We have to be committed to go and grow. We can't be complacent. If we had a good year, good, do better. If we had a bad year, good, do better. So this fourth step, to be committed to grow, knowing that you can't be complacent. You can't accept what is. Be committed to grow, knowing that you must be proactive. That we live in a world of vibration, and so you have to think thoughts of that which you desire. You have to plan to manifest those thoughts. You have to take action on those thoughts. You have to hang in there until they manifest. It's all about energy. And so when you're committed to grow, you're committed to generate the energy through your desires to live the life of your dreams. We must be committed to learn, practice, and master whatever we need to do whatever we must to go wherever we want to go. I'm going to say that again. We must be committed to learn, practice, and master whatever we need to go wherever we want to go, to become whatever we want to become, and to possess whatever we desire. In other words, living is a skill. We just have to master it. And so that's what this is all about. As we begin to close out this year, to set us up for next year, is to recognize that living is a skill, and it's all about doing better today than we did yesterday. It's all about being committed to go and grow. So let us recap today. Number one, this is part of a four-part series. Next week, we're going to be talking about setting the sails for change. Once you realize where you want to go and where you are, you can make those adjustments to get where you want to go. We must remember that the past is for education. The future is for inspiration. The present is when you make the difference, when you take action. We must remember that we have a mindset to approach this new year. A mindset where we're honest with ourselves. We are always authentic to ourselves. A mindset where we take responsibility for whatever it is, knowing that once we take responsibility for it, we can fix it, we can change it. And that we are committed to go and grow. We review our life lessons, our victories, and our lessons to evaluate how well we did this year. We face the facts and make a heartfelt commitment that every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. Let's say that together. Every day, in every way, I'm getting better and better. And then finally, we're committed to go and grow. To take each day like a piece of coal and mold it through your actions and your activities into a diamond. To set out each day and say, today is my day for success. I'm committed to do whatever it takes for as long as it takes to make this day my victory. To live your life so that at the end of each day, you can say, today I did everything I could with what I had to do it with to make tomorrow the way I want it to be. When you can do those things, folks, then you can truly be what you want to be. You can truly do what you want to do, and you can have whatever you want to have, always knowing that the best is yet to come. Whew. Wow. I want to thank you all again for being here this morning, for sharing with us today this experience. I want to remind you that as we learn, practice, and master the things for the future, it's so important that we get a good understanding of how we go forward. You know, last week we did a great webinar with Les Brown, and we were talking about the things that we have to do to create the person we want to be next year. And I'd love for you all to check out there. You know, one of the things we've learned over this last year is a paradigm we had for years, that idea that a job and that working in somebody else's dream would be all right. It's not always bad, but I'll tell you this, one thing many of us have learned this year is that if you're working in somebody else's dream, somebody else's job, then they have two words they can deliver, which will change your whole existence. And that's you're fired. It's over. A friend of mine used to say, JOB means jobs over, boys. And it's happening. So many of us in this country, so many of us around the world. And so I think one of the things that many of us are going to be doing is look at another opportunity. Maybe we need to be in business for ourselves. Do you realize that the GNP actually grew last year in spite of the pandemic and all these things, that the economy grew? So how do you position yourself to always be in front of the curve? So check out we have a nice website. You may need to be an entrepreneur, and if you've given some thought about it, it may or may not be for you. But I recommend that you go to our website, www.myhomestudycourses, with the plural.net. That's www.myhomestudycourses.net. Check out our course there. It's a program. It's called Should You Be an Entrepreneur? When you're facing these uncertain times, it's good to at least evaluate it and give yourself some thought about that, because that may be the solution for next year. So www.myhomestudycourses.net. This is Dr. Herbert Harris saying once again, thank you so much. Tune in next week for part 2, where we talk about setting the sails for change, what you have to do to adjust your attitude, your thinking, your feelings, your habits, and your associations to be victorious in every regard, always knowing that the best